This is the recap of the Manhwa series Everyone Else is a Returnee, Chapter 1-6. In Chapter 1, a man named Yul Han arrived at the campus. He discovered that no one was there. He decided to take the bus home, but then realized that instead of waiting for an hour, he should go back through bus. On his way to the home, he perceived that streets are also quiet, and nothing is same as every day. He decided to go home and have sleep, so when he wake up, it might be a dream. When he entered home, he saw that his mom is also not at home. Then he saw that the clock, and thought that it's weird that I left for school on 2:45, and now it's still 2:45. After that, he realized that it looks like that time has stopped for him. Then suddenly an angel came in front of him and told him that Earth time has stopped except for you. Yul Han asked him that, "Who are you?" On which she replied that I'm God's emissary, and my name is Lita. She informs him that the reason I visit you is that to tell you are the only one who left behind. He told her that it started with his elementary school trip. He was forgotten and left behind. He told her that same thing happened during his middle and high school. Even at his university he left alone, and now again he left alone, and suddenly he started crying. Angel told him that everyone were sent to another dimension except you. Yul Han asked him that why only he left. Angel Lita replied that it's because the earth will be going through a great cataclysm. Before I will tell you why, shall I explain what the great cataclysm is? Ian's earth is leveling up to the next stage because it has reached the maximum number of experience points. Also an archaic record will make contact with Earth, and humans can get a sense of that record. She told him that once a mana released on Earth, monster cannot die to simple guns and sword. If we leave the mankind as they are, they'll be at risk of being annihilated by the monsters. God has stopped the time on Earth and sent all humans to another world, so they get time to train and adapt to mana. Yul Han asked Angel that why God hasn't sent me. Angel laughed and replied him that I think there was a mistake. The dimensional portal has already closed, so that will be difficult. Your stealth skill that even God couldn't recognize is really amazing. He shouted on her that how does a God that stupid exist? Angel told him that it'll be 10 years until mankind came back, so until these years, I'll take care of yours meals. After that, he feels sad that now his lonely life has began. In Chapter 2, 5 years has been passed since humans disappeared. Yul Han was feeling sorrowful that every other human was building up their mana and developing powers to reset the monsters, and only thing he is doing is working on his physical strength. Then suddenly Angel came and asked him that, are you bored? How can you do the same thing every day for 5 years? He replied that, I have no choice. Lita noticed that Yul Han's muscles have developed a lot, and his strength also improved a lot. He had a very amazing patience. Usually it's not easy for people to focus this hard on just one thing. Lita said him that you are really not an ordinary person. After that Yul Han realized that Lita is only person he can talk to, and she also prepares food for him, and cook even better than his mom. After that, Yul Han decided to learn martial arts, and how to use weapons through the internet. Lita asked him that, did he spar with her, so he will improve faster? He agrees and started fighting with her, and said her that, feel the power of 9 years of loneliness and resentment. She offered her that don't worry, he can use her as a sparring partner. After that, 10 years passed and Lita told him that, with that level of martial arts, he can defeat low-level monsters, and if level up, he will be able to use mana. She told him that, he has done a good job and many things will change, when the great cataclysm comes. After that, he realized that no one is appearing, on which Lita told him that she thinks that there is some mistake. On which Yul Han shouted on her that now he have to wait another 10 or 20 years. In Chapter 3, Yul Han killed the wild boar and told Lita that if he killed every animal from now, it prevent the monsters from appearing. She replied that if you kill all the animals, the equilibrium will be destroyed. Yul Han said her that in any case he should become a butcher. After that, Lita was thinking that it's been 274 years since he was left behind. That's a very long time. Even an angel like her, it's shocking that the human who can't even live for a century is able to devote himself to preparing for the future this entire time. Yul Han was trying to hunt sperm whale. Lita informed her that sperm whale is an endangered species, therefore prohibited from hunting, so just let this one go. Yul Han thought that it's been 300 years since he left, and now he just completed the master the skill of butchery. After 5 years of struggle, he will be able to make a shabby sword. After Yul Han told Lita that her sword has started moving for a while, Lita used that sword and go up in the sky. Then suddenly everything started returning to the day that Earth has stopped. Lita gone in the sky, and Yul Han thought that this is a way we parted away. We didn't even had a chance to say goodbye to her. He thought that, will he be able to meet Lita again? In Chapter 4, everyone started coming back to their routine and normal life. Yul Han thought that he is the only one who came back after 1,000 years, and other humans came after 10 years. He thought that it feels strange that he is between so many people, but none of them react on him. He said that it looks like nobody can see him. After that, he decided to go home. When his mother called his name, when he got inside, he was so happy and told her that he had missed her a lot. When he saw his mother, all of his memories came flooding back. The next day, while he was sitting at the dining table, his parents were discussing how and where they had spent the previous 10 years. Then suddenly his mother asked, "Where were you at?" Yuil-Han mother asked him that. Did he learn the mana, and told him that it is hard to learn for her. His mom told him that I've heard that you can earn a lot of money if you're good at using mana. Monster corpses are said to be worth. After that, when Yuil-Han was sitting in his room, an angel named Ertha came. Yuil-Han thought that now have to encounter another angel. In chapter 5, Ertha told Yuil-Han that it's really difficult to manage mana, that's why God has made her an avatar. She informed him that she was sent by God to a different world to learn mana for 10 years. Yuil-Han asked her that she didn't done it for him. She replied him that this is the reason she's there. She told him that they asked an angel to help him and train him in short amount of time. He asked her that why Lita was not sent here. She told her that the higher-ups were worried that an angel and human becoming too close, that why they chosen her. Ertha told him that she will support him so he can use mana with ease. Yuil-Han asked her how she'll support him. She replied that having by his side activates the mana within him, since she is a higher being than him. By being just there, his mana cognition, control and application will be 10 times faster. Ertha told him that, according to her calculations, 1 year will be enough for him. After that, next day Yuil-Han entered in the classroom. He was still invisible. He tried to turn off stealth skill, but he failed to turn it off. Ertha told him that he need to hunt many weak monsters while they were still weak, so he can boost his experience points and level to train his mana. On which Yuil-Han said her that he is still at level 1 and can't use mana like others. She said her that he have a very good physique, so he will be easily able to defeat monsters up to level 25. She stated him that he can try it right now. In chapter 6, a monster came in front of them. Everyone gets worried and asking that government and military is doing. Everyone started running away. Yuil-Han again left alone. Ertha asked him, is he planning to fight with the monster? On which he replied, yeah, it looks like it's weaker than sperm whale. Ertha told her that monsters are little different from others animals. After that he started fighting with a group of monsters. He killed all the monsters after a lot of struggle. Ertha asked her that you learn how to slaughter. If he dismember the monster corpses, he can obtain a mana stone. After that, he slaughter the monster and get the stone. The soldiers behind there was thinking that he is this much strong. Chapter 7 to 11. In chapter 7, Yuil-Han was sitting in the ground. Ertha asked him that what he's trying to do. He told her that he's going to try and make a defensive armor with just his intuition, since it is tricky to make a suit of armor. He think that he'll at least be able to make some wrist and knee guards. Ertha told him that it is difficult to hold the byproducts of monsters. It would be better for you to find a true master, ask them to make it. He said Ertha that what is she talking about? The truest master is he himself. After that, Ertha thought Yuil-Han might be cheating. She inquired about his knowledge of mana craft. He declared that he had no idea about it. She told him that since he couldn't learn mana, so it's obvious that he couldn't know about it. He asked Ertha to teach him that new skill. She told him that he's too close, and Mancraft utilizes mana crystals, which are magical to crystal stones, to create artifacts that can grant special powers to things like armor and weapons. She informed him that it's a concept that was developed from blacksmithing. After that, Yuil-Han asked Ertha to teach him. Ertha replied him that she already teach him. She told him that she will need to have a word with Lita when she returned to heaven, on which Yuil-Han asked her that what is she going to say to her. Moreover, Ertha then teach Yuil-Han mana craft. She told him that he first need to prepare materials and magic stone to create armor or mana crystals with similar properties to the stone. She told him that it is like a dragon heart. You place the magic stone next to you and synchronize as he create gear. After finishing the product, grind the magic stone finely and rub it over the surface of the gear. She informed him that the applied form is bit difficult. He won't be able to do it with the mana he currently have. Yuil-Han used the mana in the magic stone. Ertha told him that he can't use mana in this. It is reckless. In chapter 8, the government is looking for the 2 citizens who defeated the monster, according to the news. After that, Yuil-Han told her mother that he's now going to school, on which her mother asked him to stay at home, because there is a lot of monsters outside, and it is dangerous. He responded his mother that she don't need to worry, if any monster came, he will run away. Moreover, Yuil-Han asked Ertha that he can't believe mom's ability is worrying about her son. Where do even she use such skill? She told him that she must use it to spy on her son, right? After that, Ertha asked Yuil-Han that why he is making offended faces. He replied that he is shocked that even his mom couldn't recognize him. Ertha told him that she's thinking that the government is trying to create a unit of ability users. He replied that he don't have loyalty to work with the government, and his family comes first. After that, Yul Han asked Eartha that he wanted to meet Empress again. She replied that, is he interested in him? He responded that he is no longer interested in adult entertainment these days. Eartha said Yul Han that he was living with superior angel's beauty for since 1,000 years, so when it comes to human women, it is true that he have become a sterile man. He replied that anyhow the ability of that Empress to use her mana was intriguing, that even his level goes up, he can't use his mana at all, but Empress' ability was incredible. Then suddenly Eartha told you that she feels like that a pack of monsters are coming towards them, in which there is a 70 wolves and wild dogs, which are led by a level 35 diamond wolf. He shockingly asked her that she said in the beginning of Great Cataclysm high-level monsters will not appear. In Chapter 9, Yul Han started fighting with the monsters, and obtained the 12,904 EXP, and crossed the level 9. Eartha asked him that, why did he like tough tasks? Then report was reported that monsters have appeared right away. When you was fighting with monster, people said that he could be from the recent university incident, who was disappeared in an instant. Eartha then congratulate you that he has gained so many fans. You angrily replied him that he don't care about the staff like that. After that, Eartha told Yul Han that it looks like that wolf gave some kind of command, so he needs to be careful. He replied her that these monsters are very clever, that if he step backward, he will lose balance and then they'll bite him. But in other case, he can only attack. Moreover, the people around him got shocked that how he took 5 wolves in an instant. You ask Eartha, is that wolf holding hostage? Eartha told him that they are used to it. It seems it has done this before. In Chapter 10, Yul Han killed all the monsters. Then suddenly Army came and put gun on his shoulder and say him to stay still. The people around him said Army that he defeated all the monsters and saved the hostage as well. Why are they aiming gun on Sun Gain Bolt? The Army got shocked that how he has defeated all the monsters, and then they apologize you for their behavior. After that, Army realized that he again disappeared. After that, you decided to make a butcher knife and to find a place to work. Then one army man saw him and asked that, do he have some sort of resentment towards the army or the nation? He answered him that, no, he don't have some intentions. Then the army officer offers him to work with them, but he denied. He said that, it's better to not to affiliated with the government or army, and it's more efficient to be on your own. Moreover, he realized that he will take all this back alone. He asked army officers that are they wanted to buy those wild dog car cases from him. They agreed to buy, because they know that monster corpses are very useful. Then army officers make the video of the monsters' bodies, and send it to the lieutenant. They told him that Yul Han's work is very impressive. Lieutenant ordered them to bring you to him. They told him that he already denied to work with them. After that, Eartha told you to not to eat the mana stone, because it will cause rage. In Chapter 11, Eartha told him that social media is a waste of time. There's no way information of substance would be on internet. On which Yul Han asked her that did she had a bad experience on internet? He told Eartha that destruction power depends upon a weapon a lot, so a good weapon would have a better effect than if she were to be a grappler. After that, Eartha said you that a unique job is specialized for the being it was made for, so it'll be the best. It has higher requirement for leveling up the other jobs. After that, Eartha informed you that he don't need to be worried if he haven't earned an active skill. By the time he can do his first and second job change, then the records will pile up, and he'll get a very strong skill at his third job. Yul Han said Eartha that if it was asking him to save people in the danger, he wouldn't have enjoyed it. Then suddenly a very big monster came in front of him. Eartha told him that he can't win something like that. But you excitedly said Eartha that it looks like that today's meal is bear gallbladder. Chapter 12 to 17. In Chapter 12, Eartha told Yul Han that it surprised her that human architecture was weaker than she thought. They couldn't even stand up to monsters of class 2. Yul Han started attacking on the huge bear. Eartha warned him that until he make contact, the bear won't be able to sense him. He should believe to his ability to hide his presence from even the gods. After that, everyone started saying that Sustained Bolt has appeared, and Yul Han gets shocked that when did they give him this nickname? He then thought that it looks like he can't defeat that bear in one strike. Yul Han told Eartha that although his body is the same as before he returned, he have managed to build up strength through long training and a class change. He then followed the instructions of Alita in the imagination while attacking on the bear. After that, he successfully defeated the bear and obtained the 12,904 EXP. Eartha got shocked that it took 3 blows, all without any skills, on which Yul Han asked her that can't she praise him better than that? Moreover, Yul Han exclaimed with glee that it was time to scavenge. Eartha told him that everything he did from fighting with monsters to interacting with others will have a great influence on the development of skill and his own growth. After that, they arrived another location to attack on the monster. In Chapter 13, at the new location, Yul Han meets the Du Yu Jun. Du Yu Jun told you that after observing how the bear was handled, He thought he wouldn't be able to catch up to him in the first quest. Du said Yuul Han that he better remember his name. In the world, where his strength is clearly stated as levels, it's easy to tell who's strongest in the world. He said him that one day he is higher than everyone else. After that, Yuul Han asked Du that do he really need to compare himself to someone who is growing? What's the point of becoming stronger for the sole point of being better than someone else? He said him that if he really want to become stronger, just do it quietly and by yourself. Why he want to stress other people? Moreover, when Yuul Han insults him, he immediately left the place. Moreover, you obtained the bear leather. You said although there is no magic stones, but leather is also very usable. Following that, an army officer came to him and made an offer to him. He told you that if he download the app, which he explained about, he will able to see on the map that where the monsters are appearing. Yuul Han asked him that, is it okay to share this information like this? He told you that it's for the sake of citizens. If they can get rid of monsters, they hope that it will reduce the damages the world is facing. After that, Eartha told him that the soldier looks smart, looks like he will live long. You replied her that he don't know, he think that he's just overestimating what he's capable of. Eartha then thought that if military force him to cooperate with them, he will destroy all the army for the sole sake of not following the orders. After that, Yuul Han defeated all the 3 monsters and become happy that he have now 10 million in cash. Next morning, he saw on the status window that connection with the other world has been restored, and saw where he has summoned up. In chapter 14, Yuul Han believed that he would be able to meet Lita once more, if he transformed into a greater being. Eartha thought it looked like Lita and Yuul Han were communicating their love through her. Yuul Han asked Eartha that how long does it will take that he become a greater being. She replied him that it may be less than millennia. Then suddenly a news came on the TV that an emergency state of martial law has declared throughout the country. After listening the news, Yuul Han mother said that it looks like it's not only our country, but all over the world. They don't have any choice since the monsters are dangerous. All the universities and schools are shut down, and military is planning to hunt down all the monsters. You ask his mom and dad to go to another world, at least it should be safer from there. After that, his mother told him that she know that the person that hunting a monsters with a mask is you. Even when you wear a mask and different clothes, she can tell that's him. His mother warned him that he should be careful as monsters are dangerous, and people are more dangerous than monsters. Then his mom and dad left for another world. Eartha then told him that she's leaving for heaven to get more quest reward. After that, he buy the storage unit using the money he had, and make the workshop. Yuul Han asked Eartha about how to use gigantification magic. Moreover, Yuul Han obtained the eternal flame. Eartha told him that it is the flame that will continuously grow without going out. It is a precious flame of the heaven. In chapter 15, Eartha told Yuul Han that she have good news that the heaven had given you another quest, since he couldn't go to the other world. Eartha told him that he need to create a dungeon. The heaven has declared that he will be helping in creating a dungeon, which is why they gave him this quest. She said that it's not for her, it's for him and technically for Earth. She informed him that he have developed his skills for the past millennium, and his skill in forging are godlike, so only person capable of building a dungeon on the earth is he. He replied Eartha that you are trying to make me do something very hard. After that, Eartha showed him blueprints and materials. She showed him 3 metals: Harcanium, Peckinome and Elezra, which are used by higher beings and not available on earth. She then gave him some tools, and said that he have to return it after he have done. She told him that he will use that blueprints to create the trap of destruction. It won't be easy. Moreover, Yuul Han started constructing the dungeon. He said Eartha that if he fails, don't blame him. Eartha thought that she wondered that how angel like Lita happened to be interested in human like him. After that, Yuul Han told Eartha that he's done, and she got surprised that she finishes this earlier. He earned the title a creator of legends. In chapter 16, Eartha told Yuul Han that he has passed that standard, and told him that now they will use Monocraft. She told him that now she call her fellow angels to help them. Yuul Han asked her that as Lita was also in her fellow beings, on which Eartha replied that no, she's not in them. Then some other angels came, and got surprised that a human can made the trap of destruction. Yuul Han then thought that these angels are very pretty and Eartha is also very pretty. After that, they started the Monocraft. Yuul Han then told these angels that they just need to focus on having the will to complete the trap of destruction and set it up. Yuul Han said that It looks like that he is being pressed down by mana from all directions. Is that the powers of higher beings? On which one angel asked him that, are he unable to withstand it? On which replied, no, he will must do it. An angel thought, he is good and stronger than other humans because normal humans fainted when they met angels. After that, Yule Han thought that God's power is overwhelming. He's able to send all of humanity into different world in an instant and render monsters helpless with his omnipotent power. He then think that he wanted to become more strong, so strong that nothing would be able to control him as they wish. In chapter 17, Urtha told Yule Han that, it seems like the dungeons are working properly without any issues. This is all because of him. Yule Han asked Urtha, that why did the angels go back already? He could resume work right away. Urtha told him, that tremendous amount of mana are needed for the trap of destruction. Since they are out of mana, it will take 2 days to recover. She asked that, is that any special person for it? Like porcupines harmed your parents or something. Chapter 18 to 23. In chapter 18, Urtha informed Yule Han that there is still a bear who has not been trapped by the dungeon. Yule Han said her that before we started fighting, he need to fix his steel spear. After that, when he fixed the spear, the attack power increases by 300. Then Yule Han saw a very giant monster and got shocked. According to soldiers, their anti-tank rockets are ineffective, so they must resort to missiles or risk having the Blue House attacked. Yule Han thought that, besides the soldier, those who changed classes are also fighting. Even if he go to the other world, Earth is the place where he lives, so it'll be meaningless if it gets destroyed. Urtha told Yule Han that the leopard is definitely stronger than Brown Big Bear. After that, Yule Han attack on the leopard, and you didn't venture out to the next world, causes individuals blissful and they additionally to feel eased, that they are saved. Moreover, Yule Han saved the soldiers from Monster, and he realized that Monster is smarter than Bear. Urtha told you that he need to be careful, because if leopard noticed him, his stealth will no longer work. Yule Han replied her, that it's an opponent that he can defeat, even if he fight head on. In chapter 19, Empress came to the place. Moreover, people there sadly started saying that what will they do if Sustained Bolt dies? Then suddenly, Yule Han attack on the leopard, and everyone got shocked. You thought that he should have learned how to climb rocks, because leopard was jumping very high. Yule Han asked Urtha, that he think he's getting his money worth. What did she think? Urtha said, Yule Han, to end the things fastly. You told her that leopard's body has started to mutate at a really fast rate. Yule Han told Urtha that he don't think he's the best one to deal with things like tentacles. Bring an 11 archer or a knight princess. Urtha replied him that this isn't the time to joke around. She hopes that he understand. She can't help him even if he dies right here. You said her that at least the joke will stop him from crying. He said that he wanted to defeat that monster at any cost. Empress said Yule Han that she can buff him with magic. However, she won't have any mana after doing so. Are he sure he can kill it? Empress told you that in order to buff him, she need to make physical contact with him. Moreover, she informed him that it will use all the remaining mana that she have, and she won't be able to help him. She said him that her life is in his hands now. In chapter 20, Empress told Yule Han that if they can't kill the monster, the soldiers are going to use missiles. If it comes to that, the amount of causalities and damages will greatly increase. Yule Han replied that they can't let this happen around this area, because his workshops are there. After a lot of struggle, Yule Han defeated the leopard. Empress shockingly asked him that, is he really killed the leopard? Moreover, Urtha said him that he barely just won. It did be so disappointing if he died from getting squashed by a corpse. After that, everyone started praising Yule Han that finally he killed the leopard and saved everyone. After that, Yule Han was enraged because he couldn't make the leather armor this time, because all of leopard's leather was damaged. The soldiers and Empress said that since it is dead, the size has decreased by half. Empress said them that first they need to break it apart. Then suddenly you came and said her that dismantling carcasses is his specialty, and asked her that what's the best way to divide it. She told him that he will get 60% and she will get 20% and rest 20% is for others. After that, Yule Han found the mana stone and thought that it is a second-class mana stone, and it should be worth 60%. He said everyone that mana stone is a share, and others can share rest. Moreover, everyone disagrees with him, but then they realize that if they combine all their strengths, still they can't go against him. After that, Empress requested him to butcher his share, so she will give him 40% of her share. Yule Han agreed to her, and set her to transport that. They need to call a car. Empress called a car, on which Yule Han thought that she must from wealthy family, that's why she came in helicopter. After that, other people also requested him for help, and promised him to give half of their share. chapter 21. Eartha said Yuulhan that, these people don't have any shame, earlier they were complaining that he were having mana stone and now they are asking help from him. Yuulhan asked other people for half of their share, everyone said that, the Empress is giving 40%, so why would they give 50%? But they agrees to him for their own sake. After that, Empress said Yuulhan, that she wanted to form a party with him, she also think that they both make a perfect partner. Yuulhan disagrees to her. She further said him that, she is planning to live on Earth, she is not so weak that she need to go back to the other world for quest. Moreover, Yuulhan asked Eartha to let's go home, because there is a lot of work to do. After that Yuulhan asked Eartha, that what's going on in other countries. Eartha told him, that Korea is the only place where the monsters are about to evolve the tertiary class. He told her that, there must be a trap of destruction there, in other worlds monsters were trapped before they feel any kind of vigilance. Eartha informed him, that's why monsters' evolution happen in dungeon. Through countless crossbreeding in the dungeons, new and more dangerous monsters appear. Monsters don't really fight with each other, that's why their growth is stunted, when they are in the dungeon. Eartha told him, that once he is stronger, he will be able to experience a lot more things. He replied her that, once the night came, the angels that recovered their mana came back, and after completing the trap of destruction with mana craft, the angels will left to create the dungeon. He said that he don't know which country he will go, he hopes there won't be any dangerous monsters. After that, he gone to the home and sleep. In chapter 22, Yuulhan asked Eartha, that don't she think he have bulked up a bit? She replied that, you grow every time you level up, so don't be surprised each time. After that next morning, Yuulhan saw a skill on the status window. Eartha said him, that this skill is resting skill, when did he will learn a skill with difficulty learning of rank? Moreover, Yuulhan started laughing and asked her that, is it really a resting skill? Eartha told him that, it is very impressive that he has earned a skill that is super hard to learn and even harder to evolve. Yuulhan asked her that, what is this skill is used for? She replied him that, it is the skill only for sleeping and resting well. She told him about the evolution skill, it is a kind of achievement like skill obtaining, and it has similar rules to title change. Moreover, she teaches him the skill. In chapter 23, Eartha said Yuulhan that the giant leopard will definitely dead, they even took its mana stone, the hunt is over at that point in 99.9% of cases. He asked her that, then what about a 0.0 liters percent? She replied him that it should be pregnant monster, if the monster had a baby that was about to be born. After that, you saw a black monster on the screen, who was the master of stealth. Yuulhan feels regret that it wouldn't happen, if he had completed the butchering. He feels bad that a lot of people, who supported and trusted him, died because of him. He said Eartha, that it was all his fault, because he have not butchered the monster completely, he said that, he has wasted a lot of time arguing over loot. After that, Yuulhan constructs equipment for the black monster's assault. He stated that he would be defeated, if he attacked on his own. He takes out the business card, Empress gave him and calls her for help. He told her that there is a monster with a strong stealth skill. She replied him that, she can guess that it should be very dangerous. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to our channel. We have many more reviews and discussions on a variety of anime, so be sure to check out our other videos, to stay up to date. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in our next video.
The call ends, and Ilhan is impressed by how Mayuri caught on to things so quickly. Her connection to the military and government is more impressive. Ilhan then gets ready for their mission. He later prepares the materials he got from the leopard monster. Eartha wonders what Ilhan will make, as she knows that the steel spear is enough. Ilhan tells her to watch, but Eartha gets mad and keeps pulling Ilhan's hair. Ilhan claims that he will make posts. Using the leopard's bones, Ilhan created huge posts. Eartha thought Ilhan was going to make a necklace for a giant, but the satisfied Ilhan tells her that she knows nothing. Eartha gets mad. She thought Ilhan was making spears, however, it is a harpoon. Ilhan tells her that a harpoon can be used to pull the prey back once hit. A harpoon has great penetration, and it is hard to take it out once it is in. Ilhan then makes a rope using the leopard's leather. Eartha asks him if he is using mana when quickly making things. However, Ilhan claims he won't be making weapons if he has mana, and he can just straight up beat up the monster. Ilhan finishes everything, and Eartha finds an evil for using the mother to kill the baby leopard. He then starts to mana craft, and Eartha finds it a waste to use the stones. Ilhan claims that it is for his own survival. He uses the mana craft, and he finishes the hunter's harpoons. Eartha is shocked at how fast Ilhan's mana craft is. It also has more options. It had a high attack power and an increase in critical hits. Eartha's head aches to see the impossible happen. Later, Ilhan contacts Mayuri again and reminds her not to be rash. Mayuri wonders why it is still in the area, and Ilhan claims that the monster is looking to avenge its mother's death. Mayuri asks if Ilhan has plans. Ilhan will make the monster unable to use its stealth skills. Mayuri then wishes him luck. Ilhan and Eartha go to the monster area, and Ilhan laughs after sensing the monster being confident with its stealth skills. He pins down posts and makes noise on purpose, but the leopard is not attacking yet. Eartha claims that Ilhan's stealth skill is way superior to the leopard's. It even hides his traps. Eartha applauds how Ilhan is suited to be an assassin. Just then, Ilhan notices something. The leopard appears while it is in stealth. Ilhan then gets ready to move. The leopard growls as it walks around. Ilhan notices that he got a 20% bonus damage from attacking while in stealth and using a spear. He throws the harpoon at the leopard with all his might. The leopard gets hit and it roars in pain. Ilhan can't believe it is a tertiary class monster despite being half the size of its mother. He had the bonus, but the harpoon was only lodged halfway. Eartha says that the leopard has lower stamina and defense because it only specializes in stealth. The leopard now notices Ilhan and attacks him. Ilhan quickly backs off to dodge. The leopard notices that it can't move further. It is because of the harpoon and pole. The rope is sturdy. Ilhan picks up another harpoon and throws it at the leopard, dealing a critical hit. The leopard fights back, and Ilhan's arm guards break. He backs off and cries over the broken equipment. He instantly recovers after realizing that he can fix it later. Eartha feels annoyed that a stupid-looking arm guard helped. The leopard attacks again, but Ilhan dodges again. Ilhan realizes that it was a skill and gets surprised. Ilhan prepares another set of spears and harpoons. The leopard tries to run away, but the harpoons are lodged tightly in its body. It realizes that pulling out the harpoons is ineffective, so it proceeds to cut the ropes. Eartha tells Ilhan to use the remaining harpoons so it can't get away. Ilhan thought that the monsters were just very strong beasts, but it seems like he will encounter more monsters in the future that goes beyond common sense and logic. Ilhan dodges another long-range attack and throws off another harpoon. The leopard's foot is pinned down, making it unable to attack with its long-range skill. Eartha commends Ilhan's javelin throwing. Ilhan asks Eartha to call him Ishmael, a character from the movie Moby Dick. Eartha tells him not to let his guard down. Just then, Mare's voice resounds in the area, asking if that is their target monster for subjugation. She arrives while riding a military car and she quickly uses her lightning magic. The leopard gets hit and is paralyzed. Mare steps out of the car and asks Ilhan how he managed to capture the monster. Ilhan also comments that it is not a question that a person who just dropped a bolt of lightning can ask. He realizes that Mare is not a normal hunter. The last attack shows that she is a first-class hunter. However, the leopard gets back on its feet. The two hunters prepare for the second round. Ilhan sets another pole and prepares to throw the harpoon. The leopard tries to move again, but Ilhan throws the harpoon on its other front foot. It roars in pain and Ilhan tells Mare to attack it whenever she can. Mare can attack with powerful lightning magic, but she needs 2 minutes before she can fire it off. Ilhan then expects Mare to tell him when she will launch the attack. The leopard still tries to get out of the constraints, and Eartha notices that it still has mana. It glares at Ilhan, and Ilhan knows that the leopard is determined to kill him. Ilhan has seen those kinds of eyes before when he was hunting wild animals. It shows their strong desire to survive. The monster gets hit again, and it counters with its long-range skill. It misses, but Ilhan notices how the attack got stronger. Eartha says it is the bleeding buff mineralization. Mare fires off a lightning attack, but it doesn't reach the leopard. The leopard attacks Mare and her driver, but they dodge. It will be hard for her to attack the leopard in this situation. The leopard roars out loudly as it tries to get away from the harpoons. Ilhan commends its determination to the point that the leopard is fine with ripping its legs apart. Ilhan realizes that they really need Mare's attack. He jumps on the car's roof and asks Mare for a stronger attack. The driver brings out a gun, but Mare wonders if it will be enough. Ilhan claims that this is not the time to think it through. Mare asks if Ilhan knows how to use a gun, and Ilhan claims that he can use most earth weapons. Ilhan moves out with the gun in hand, and Mare can see that he was not lying. Eartha knows Ilhan has hesitated before because the leopard's leather will be messed up. Ilhan doesn't have a choice now because martial arts or spears won't work anymore on the leopard. Just then, the leopard manages to pull out a pole stuck on its foot. Ilhan is amazed at how sturdy the ropes are. Mare watches the scene as she waits for another minute. Anytime soon, the leopard will also uproot the other poles. Ilhan fires a shot and hits the leopard's eye. The leopard bleeds as Ilhan gains maximum level shooting skills. He fires another one, and Mare can't believe a rifle can cause such damage. Eartha also knows that a rifle can't affect a tertiary class monster. However, Ilhan's shooting skill has made the gun powerful. Ilhan continues shooting and shouts for Mare's magic. Mare just needs a few seconds, and she starts counting down. Ilhan lets go of the rifle and grabs a harpoon. The leopard gets out of its constraints and tries to attack Ilhan. Mare finishes counting and lets out stronger lightning magic. The lightning magic hits the leopard, and Mare experiences backlash from using stronger magic. When they thought it worked well, Ilhan noticed that it was not over yet. The leopard uses its stealth skill and disappears from Mare's sight. However, the leopard's stealth skill won't work in front of Stealth King Ilhan. Ilhan jumps on the leopard and stabs its wounded eye with a harpoon. The monster falls and trembles in pain. Mare is amazed that Ilhan can see through stealth. Ilhan brings out the remaining ropes and binds the leopard. He maxed out one of his skills again. Eartha wonders why he has not killed it yet. Ilhan must do something first. Mare arrives, and she is surprised by Ilhan's sudden appearance. He asks to form a party so they can share the experience points from the leopard. Flustered, Mare forms a party with Ilhan. The system confirms the party formation and Ilhan gets excited. He sees new windows that can check the status of other party members. Mare is confused and acts surprised that Ilhan is acting like it is his first time forming a party. Ilhan gets flustered and makes up a reason. Eartha can only sigh. Ilhan approaches the dying leopard. He bids farewell and kills the leopard. He obtained nearly 3 million experience points and became level 36. Eartha tells him that he should have gained more, but there are penalties because of Ilhan's title. Ilhan's headache subsides, and he solemnly approaches the leopard's carcass. He apologizes to the leather for damaging it. Eartha gets creeped out, and Ilhan claims that armor made from a tertiary class monster is a great item. Nevertheless, he continues to butcher the monster. Just then, he discovers a mana stone in its head. Eartha exclaims how lucky Ilhan is for getting mana stones from both mother and baby leopards. The mana stone is as huge as Ilhan's fist. Ilhan suddenly remembers that a tertiary class monster's mana stone is one of the requirements for evolving the rest skill. However, he is not the only one who subdued the monster. Mare claims she got 1.5 million experience points. The points given are based on the contributions the hunters made to subdue the monster. Ilhan comments on how helpful Mare was. Mare is glad, and she asks for his name, or else she will continue calling him his embarrassing nickname. Ilhan immediately tells her his name. Mare smiles as she tells him to keep the mana stone, and she will only take half of the corpse if Ilhan butchers it. Ilhan wonders if it is fine. Mare then tells Ilhan that the most important job on Earth right now is that of the butcher artisan. There is no point in killing a monster if you can't process its carcass. Mare also recognizes Ilhan's unmatched butchering skills in the last monster raid. Ilhan butchers the monster's carcass while Mare calls for backup. Eartha can see that Mare has a lot of connections and suggests Ilhan stay on good terms with her. However, it is difficult for Ilhan to get close to someone. It is painful for a loner like Ilhan. Ilhan later finishes butchering the monster. Mare orders some people to move the processed materials. Mare thanks Ilhan for getting rid of the monster before it can cause more damage. Ilhan also thanks Mare for her help. Mare also retracts her suggestion of forming a party together. Ilhan gets heartbroken. The introvert starts overthinking things and faults that he might have done. Mare sighs and claims that she is lacking in many ways. Their gap in strength is too large. Ilhan sighs in relief. Mare swears to get stronger sooner or later, and she will ask Ilhan again to be her partner. Ilhan wants to think about that when the time comes. Mare finds Ilhan logical and thanks him again. Their party disbands and Ilhan has mixed feelings about it. Mare gets called to leave with her men. Just then, she remembers something. Mare asks Ilhan for his phone number, but Ilhan hesitates to do so. Mare smiles and promises not to tell anyone about his identity or phone number. The masked man is too stunned to Ilhan wonders if he really can trust Mare. Recalling things that happened today, Ilhan decided. Ilhan agrees to give her his contact information. He cheerfully types in his number into Mare's phone. Mare thanks him again as she leaves. Ilhan can't believe that a woman asked for his number first. Eartha finds Ilhan pathetic. Ilhan gets offended, and the two argue. Ilhan can't believe he got a tertiary class monster just like that. He menacingly smiles. His only issue now is the troll's blood, which is not on Earth yet. He cries over the fact that he can't go to the other world. Eartha claims that Earth's mana concentration is getting higher. Trolls will appear on Earth soon. Ilhan wonders if the troll's blood has healing abilities because it is related to the rest skill. Eartha confirms, but Ilhan needs poison resistance to use it as is. The next requirement is troublesome. Ilhan needs to kill a sleeping second-class monster in one hit. Ilhan needs to strengthen his weapon. He asks Eartha for materials, but she immediately refuses. Eartha gets mad and claims they already provided him with the tools. He notices that he can still use the harpoons. As he wonders what to do with the muscles and tendons, the eternal flame surprises him and eats them. The tendons suddenly change form, and Ilhan gets excited. He stops the eternal flame and gets the tendon out of the flame. He gets excited over new material. He finds the new material fascinating and calls it the Giant's Rubber Band. Eartha wonders how Ilhan will use it. It is stretchy, durable, fire-resistant, and also resistant to shock and water. He wants to make a bunker with it. Ilhan explains how it looks and works to Eartha. Its attack power will be top tier and fierce. He pours more tendons into the eternal flame. Ilhan menacingly laughs after finding a new source of power. Eartha's headaches seeing the maniac behind her. She can't believe that Ilhan has a lot of ideas. She is now excited about what will be Ilhan's future projects. Ilhan starts drafting his new weapon. He will use the leopard's teeth as bullets. He wants to strengthen it with the Mana Stone, but Eartha finds it strong enough. Ilhan might need it to fight another tertiary class monster in the future. Ilhan gets worried. Ilhan promises to find a Mana Stone for the pile bunker. He immediately finishes the pile bunker. He immediately tries it out, but the rubber band is more resistant than expected. He calls his mom as he pulls the rubber band. It took him 2 seconds, longer than he expected, to put it in the first level. He just realized that it is hard to use it in a real scenario. He needs to call for his ancestors instead next time. He tries it out with the powers of his ancestors, but it takes him more time to load the other levels. The pile bunker's stat window appeared, and it had more options. However, Eartha finds it disadvantageous to use. Ilhan plans to use it when he encounters giant monsters. He immediately moves on to making weapons for smaller enemies. Eartha gets mad and tells Ilhan to rest. Time passes and Ilhan manages to create a lot of traps of destruction until his Mana Craft level reaches 24. He quickly creates one after another, and the angels are impressed by the qualities. Eartha reminds him that he just needs to create less than usual. It is because the ones Ilhan is making now are overflowing. The traps' qualities are getting better with a wider range and might overflow existing traps on Earth. The monsters might leave their current traps and go to the new traps. These might result in new monsters being born that might chew on the traps. Ilhan shivers in fear and doesn't plan to meet another tertiary class monster. He was only able to defeat the Shadow Leopard because of its stealth. He even needed help to defeat it. He can't defeat a 4th class monster by himself right now. Eartha tells them to decrease the traps in the meantime to stop an overflow. Shuda, the white-haired angel, is annoyed that a lot of things are happening on Earth, especially with Ilhan. He tells Eartha to manage Ilhan well. Eartha corrects him, saying that they are not managing Ilhan but helping him. She was never ordered to restrict Ilhan's abilities. Shuda calls her inflexible. Eartha gets pissed off and brings out her sword. She tells Shuda to mind his own business. Shuda looks at the blade with frustration. Ilhan panics because this is the first time he sees Eartha getting mad. The other angels intervene and side with Eartha's statement. They try to calm Eartha down and make claims that Shuda didn't really mean it. Ilhan just realized that angels are not different from humans, despite being higher beings. Eartha can also act like a normal person. The 3 angels leave as they receive the traps of destruction from Ilhan. Ilhan and Eartha watch them leave. Eartha then apologizes for showing a shameful side of herself. However, Ilhan finds it refreshing and interesting to see that angels express their emotions. Eartha claims that angels have long forgotten about petty emotions. Ilhan wonders why Shuda is still like that. Eartha tells Ilhan that it is because he is great. His talents are more than enough to make an angel feel jealous. Ilhan gets surprised at being complimented by Eartha. He gets shy because of how Eartha overestimated him. Eartha just finds Ilhan underestimating himself. Ilhan might think lowly of himself, but that might be a good quality. If he finds his talents and skills strong, he might have challenged God. Eartha doesn't even want to think about it. She decides not to think too much and speaks out loud. Ilhan gets confused by what Eartha just said. It is now time to talk about the rewards. Ilhan only wants to deal with material goods. Eartha exclaims that Ilhan might change his mind after he hears what she will say. A new dungeon on Earth has a new kind of metal, and Eartha will tell Ilhan its location. Ilhan gets excited and wants to know it now. The next day, Ilhan walks outside and notices no one is out. Eartha wonders if Ilhan remembers the time when he was all alone on Earth. Ilhan finds it different now. There are people now who fight monsters like Mare. Ilhan knows that he is not alone anymore. Eartha feels proud for some reason. Ilhan walks deeper into a forest and finds something shining. He arrives at a dungeon entrance. Ilhan is glad that the dungeon with new metal is in Korea. Because of the state of emergency around the world, he can't go overseas by boat or plane. Ilhan did think of making a plane. Eartha wonders if it is the start of something. He touches the dungeon entrance to enter it. However, the dungeon restricts entry to anyone below level 50. Ilhan complains to Eartha that he is still at level 36. Eartha asks Ilhan who he thinks she is. Ilhan quickly calls her a rude angel and a trespasser. Eartha exclaims that there is a higher being that manages the dungeons. She swipes her hand casually and the dungeon's entry restriction gets lifted. Eartha tells him to enter, and Ilhan finds her useful now. Eartha angrily comments that she is a very great help to Ilhan. Ilhan touches the dungeon portal again, and he is able to go inside it. He freaks out to see the inside of the dungeon for the first time. Eartha reminds Ilhan that he is the one who made the dungeon. Eartha puts on her glasses and starts a pop quiz. She asks how new monsters appear on Earth. Ilhan mentions that the mana concentration is getting higher, however it is only a basic condition. Eartha uses rice weevils and cockroaches as examples. New monsters will appear if there is an environment that is perfect for them. Ilhan wonders why Eartha brought up the topic. She then suggests that they extract the hearts of the monsters Ilhan murders inside the dungeon. The hearts are the new metals on Earth. The miner who is already equipped with a helmet complains, "Why just mention it now?" Ilhan is shocked to learn that the monsters' hearts are the earlier. He was so excited to mine that he even prepared a boatload of mining equipment. Even Eartha is surprised to see the numerous items Ilhan brought. It was thanks to an item that Ilhan obtained as a quest reward, a bag with space expansion magic. Nevertheless, the space is still limited, and the weight stays the same. But thanks to his excellent physique, a few dozen tons is nothing to Ilhan. Meanwhile, Ilhan surveys the walls and sees the countless gems dotting them. He sighs in disappointment that all of those are from monsters. Eartha asks him why he is so disappointed, so Ilhan admits that he was imagining him excitedly mining the wall, and then getting surprised and ambushed by the monsters. Unfortunately, Eartha spoiled the surprise and now, he can't experience something new. To fight against the monsters, Ilhan pulls out a new weapon since his spear might not be that effective against a metal monster, thus using a heavy battle axe that he forged earlier. Eartha can't help but marvel that Ilhan seems to create rare or better items. Ilhan laments that he can only use the axe once though, since when he gets a new metal, he can again create a better one. He tests the weapon on one of the monsters called Metal Heart on the wall, and with just one hit, the metal monster dies, surprising Ilhan. He also gains a level, and his blunt weapon technique immediately reaches its max. Inside the monster, they obtain a shining chunk which is the Metal Heart's heart. A metal heart can reinforce its body with mana if it detects danger, meaning that to hunt it, most parties need 2 individuals, one to distract it and one to attack from behind. However, Ilhan has a stealth skill so he can just ambush them. He takes the heart and happily heads off to find more monsters. But after a few hours, he already found the dungeon so boring since the Eartha points out that he's just the one out normal. A little while later, they come upon a new enemy, a level 74 big metal heart. Ilhan pulls out his pile bunker and uses it on the enemy. With one hit, it explodes into tiny pieces. However, the pile bunker's bullet gets destroyed, so he wonders if he should just make case shots instead. From the monster's corpse, he obtains a large heart. Eartha shares that the Keen Metal Heart, which is the final form of, has the highest durability in the world. But it won't be in that dungeon since it's a quaternary class monster. It was rare to see a big metal heart monster in the dungeon. Against all odds, however, they encounter another big metal heart. Instead of using his pile bunker again, Ilhan decides to use his other weapons, specifically a huge hammer. With that, he happily continues hunting. A few days passed like this and Ilhan earned a couple of levels and materials before clearing the whole dungeon. Eartha suggests they leave now since they can just return if they need more metal. Outside, the other angels were there to meet him, and the installation of the traps of destruction all over the earth was finished. With the dungeons all over the world activating, monsters began disappearing a little at a time, and once the monsters were trapped inside the dungeons, civilization began to regain its security and stability. Korea, Japan, China, and other Asian nations are finding peace once again. On the other hand, there are also reports that quests from the other world are decreasing. Eartha explains to Ilhan that they are limiting the quest rewards till people return to Earth can get rid of the monsters there. Meanwhile, Ilhan has also finished blacksmithing. Thanks to his effort, he managed to make a full plate armor with not only 2 additional options but 3. It's near impossible for an item without mana craft to have 3 options, but thanks to Ilhan's creator of myth title, he was able to do the impossible. Eartha advises him not to sell these items since it would be dangerous if people knew about his. He also created a bunch of weapons and retired his old spear. He feeds it to the eternal flame which grows each time he feeds it. After a long day of blacksmithing, he returns home and finds that his parents have also arrived from the other world. He happily joins them for dinner while his dad leaves to go to work. One of their co-workers is quitting to be a hunter, and he can't do that, so he must work to avoid getting fired. Before his dad leaves, Ilhan pulls out a defensive shirt from his bag and gives it to his dad. He also gives his mom some too, but she expresses interest in his bag itself. The next day, Ilhan goes back to his storage room to find that his workshop had dramatically changed overnight. Eartha explains that it was his reward for his help in creating the trap of destruction. That's not all. He was also given a deadly poison resistance record, which will allow him to survive even a quaternary class monster's poison. With that, Ilhan realizes he can now hunt trolls. As for his last reward, Eartha shares with him a troll dungeon location. It was in the United States of America. Ilhan heads over to Incheon Airport to go to the USA. It was his first time flying, so he was very excited. Eartha shouts at him that he seems to be forgetting that traveling needs a passport and a visa, but Ilhan just smiles and announces that he'll be smuggling himself into the country. Using his stealth skill, he just walks into the airport, past the stewardess, and into the airplane itself. He made himself comfortable in one of the seats and even stole some soda from a passing cart. He notices that there's a fighter jet outside trailing them, but Eartha explains from a guidebook that it's being flown by an ability user to guard the plane in case of a monster appearing in the sky. In order to reach Arizona where the troll dungeon is, they have a layover in Los Angeles. However, when he landed at Los Angeles Airport, the airport suddenly got attacked by monsters. Eartha warns Ilhan that it's probably an overflow. An overflow is a phenomenon that occurs when a trap of destruction explodes for some reason and results in a mass of mutant monsters. It creates monsters that are much stronger than normal. The energy from the trap of destruction is also absorbed into the surroundings. In this case, meanwhile, Ilhan equips his armor in preparation for the upcoming fight. Eartha further explains that the mutants created from an overflow can react with other dungeons and cause another overflow to happen somewhere else, and so on. The airport wall then explodes as humans start running away from the monsters. A security guard tries to fire his gun at the monsters, but the flame lizard monster just swats him away. Ilhan pulls out his new spear from his bag and destroys the flame lizard in one hit. The citizens running away notice that someone else is fighting and cheer him on. Meanwhile, another flame lizard breathes out a fireball and Ilhan dodges it. Unfortunately, he runs directly into a fireball of another flame lizard. The people cried out at seeing him die, but thankfully his armor easily blocks the attack and he emerges unscathed. He shouts at the lizards to attack him again, but no one glances at him. Even the people started rallying their fighters and pushing back against the monsters. It seems that after he got hit by the attack, everyone's attention moved on from him and his stealth skill made sure that no one noticed he was still alive. The human fighters and flame lizards continue their fight as Ilhan watches on. When one of the armored humans was about to be hit by a fireball, Ilhan stands in the way and blocks the attack, sating the human. He then stabs the flame lizard right in its head. The flame lizard recognizes that he is a strong warrior and starts clamoring to eat his record. The flame lizard also joins in on the action and starts piling up on him. They believe that if they get to eat a strong warrior's record, they get to evolve. The armored human Ilhan saved earlier thanks him for his help and Ilhan recognizes that it was a woman's voice. He advises her to stay safe while walking away, feeling smug and handsome the whole time even though his face was covered by a mask. He continued his massacre of the flare lizards outside and he was able to level up from their experience points. Ilhan comments that the flame lizards seem to just keep coming, so Eartha advises him to murder the leader first. The leader is the main cause of environmental change and if he gets rid of it first, then it would be easier to eliminate the remaining ones. If he doesn't murder the leader, monsters will just continue to appear. All the lizards are now targeting him due to his strength and Ilhan is forced to murder each of them with his spear. A flame lizard hurls a fireball at him and he deflects it back into another group. The fiery explosion then creates a gap for Ilhan to jump in and stab the lizards with his spear. Meanwhile, the other fighters are amazed at his ability. It's hard for them to take on as a group, but Ilhan is taking them all on by himself. Meanwhile, Ilhan jumps over the horde of lizards and surveys the surroundings. In the distance, he spots the leader of the monsters, a huge gray flame lizard surrounded by his subordinates. He uses his momentum to crash onto the monsters and destroy some more lizards. Out of nowhere, another fighter shouts at him in Korean to move since the leader lizard's attacks explode on contact. However, Ilhan just takes this as advice and instead blocks the leader's attack with another lizard, making them explode. The leader uses another attack and ruptures the ground, but Ilhan just rides the protruding rocks thanks to his skill learned while surfing the ocean. Unfortunately, the rocks under him explode too. Ilhan jumps out of the explosion unscathed and then pulls out his newly created pile bunker. With it, he easily lands a critical attack on the lizard leader. The other lizards rush in to help their boss and the humans slowly but surely get overwhelmed. Ilhan pulls out another weapon, this time a large great sword, and slices the lizards with it. Meanwhile, the lizard leader realizes how strong Ilhan is and then uses his remaining strength on one last attack. The whole area starts to rumble and the rocks crack as the lizard leader plans to blow the whole place up. The whole place rumbled and a lizardman fell to the ground, exclaiming that they would replace humans on top of the world. The monster got bonked out of nowhere and Ilhan told it that it had no chance at all. Ilhan got experience points and the crocodile's records. He can't believe such monsters have lower levels compared to the black leopard. Things were over and everyone cheered for Ilhan. The two Korean couples he saw last time wondered if Ilhan needed some healing. Erda noticed jealousy emanating from Ilhan. Ilhan coldly told them that he was fine and asked them to do the cleanup in the area. The woman wondered if Ilhan had already gone through a tertiary class change, but the man claimed no one had reached that level yet. Meanwhile, Ilhan continues murdering the remaining lizardmen. He was anxious because if even one of them was left alive, another mutant incident would happen. Erda wondered what kind of movie Ilhan was imagining. With Erda's support, Ilhan finished off the rest of the lizardmen. He then stored the corpse in his crossbag, but Erda was unsure of what he was going to do. It was fine at first, but the crossbag suddenly got heavy and Ilhan made a hole in the concrete ground. He asked Erda for an option to control the crossbag's weight. The system finally rewarded Ilhan for completing the quest. Erda chanted something and two angels appeared. Fida wondered what was wrong and Erda asked for their help with mana crafting. The two can see the crossbag totally on the ground and realize what was wrong. They then started applying mana to it and the mana craft was done. Erda handed over the crossbag to Ilhan, which was now adjustable. Fida laughed suspiciously while watching them. She claimed that the person she was supervising was also on the battlefield. Ilhan got confused and Erda explained that angels assist excellent and rare ability users. Fida mentioned that it was Nauna, the Korean woman from before. She hoped Ilhan could help Yuna more in the future since Yuna was blessed by the goddess of beauty. Erda warned Fida not to tell Yuna about Ilhan's abilities since his information needs to be protected. Fida can't believe Erda was being protective of a lower being. She wondered if Erda liked Ilhan. She warned her that Lita would murder her in that case. After some teasing, the two angels bid farewell. While looking tired, Erda wondered if Ilhan would help Yuna at Fida's quest. However, it would be impossible for an introvert like Ilhan. Erda then remembered giving out the rest of the rewards. Ilhan received a skill called Superhuman Strength, which can be used without mana. Ilhan was bothered by the skill's name being monster-like and Erda reminded him that he had already learned all the skills a human might learn. Soon on the airplane, Yuna relaxed and kept looking for Ilhan. Hajin told her to keep her voice down. Yuna kept wondering out loud about Ilhan's appearance. Ilhan can nervously listen to the couple's banter. It seems like Ilhan would keep running into them. Erda told Ilhan to stop acting like his life was a movie. Ilhan wondered if Erda knew about the element of Chekhov's gun. The Russian author Anton Chekhov mentioned that if you showed a scene of a pistol hanging on a wall, then the next scene would be about firing it. Ilhan cooked some meat and told the two to leave. However, Yuna wanted to eat more of the giant scorpion's meat. Wondering what happened, let us have a flashback. In a deserted canyon, Ilhan discovered a huge dungeon entrance. It was so tremendous that even a higher being like Erda didn't have any idea about it. Erda went to check it out first since she heard it was only a normal troll dungeon. After some checking, Erda noticed that it was a very rare phenomenon. Two destruction traps were accidentally placed in the same area, and the two combined to form a large dungeon. Erda warned Ilhan to be careful since there would be monsters aside from trolls. Ilhan asked for a simpler explanation and Erda explained that there are two field bosses in this dungeon. The two arrived at Highland and immediately discovered a troll. The troll yawned and immediately fell asleep. Ilhan was amazed that it only took 3 seconds to sleep. Erda explained that trolls have resting skills, and that made Ilhan realize why troll's blood was required to level up the rest skill. Ilhan sneaked behind the troll and wore a villain-like expression. He stabbed the troll's neck and immediately died from the critical hit. Ilhan got a secondary class monster's heart and 3 liters of troll blood. Ilhan excitedly ran off to hunt more trolls. Meanwhile, a familiar couple arrived at the dungeon's entrance. Fida told Yuna to be careful. Hejin wanted to get the skork and poison already so they could go back home. Yuna cheerfully claimed that it would be a dungeon date, but Haejin knew that she didn't feel that way toward him. Fida worriedly warned the two again, and the three of them entered the dungeon. Night comes and Ilhan causally sets up camp and cooks some mangemet. Erda can't believe Ilhan was enjoying the troll's poisonous meat. Ilhan claimed that it tasted great, like beef. Just then, his deadly poison resistance skill leveled up. It would just mean that the meat was very poisonous, but Ilhan continued eating with no worries at all. Dinner ended, and Ilhan was satisfied with his cooking skills going up, too. Ilhan then wondered why he was not being attacked despite cooking monster meat. Erda then realized something. Ilhan's stealth skill was so strong that it also hid the meat altogether. Ilhan exclaimed that his stealth was breaking the law of physics, but Erda reminded him that the same stealth skill even fooled God. Days later, Ilhan met his 500th troll. Ilhan and Erda watched the troll rest under a tree shade while talking about the past day's meals of troll meat only. Though Erda knew that Ilhan was happily leveling up his deadly poison resistance and cooking skills, Ilhan asked Erda to stop reading his mind. Erda told Ilhan to murder the troll already, and the monster immediately turned into pieces of meat. When Ilhan finally reached level 30, he was asked by the system to choose a secondary class. Based on the records collected, the system gave out a list of Ilhan's possible secondary classes. Erda congratulated the surprised Ilhan. It was now Erda's time to do some explaining. The Blood Lancer class is an advanced version of Ilhan's current class. The Battle Expert class would make Ilhan an expert in all weapons, including his body. The Berserker class basically makes Ilhan a psychopath on the battlefield. Erda reminded Ilhan that those three classes don't really use mana. Just then, Ilhan noticed the Rookie Reaper class. Erda thought it might be an exclusive class since it was her first time seeing it. She warned him that it might be completely different from its name, just like Invisible Spearman. Nevertheless, Ilhan chose the Rookie Reaper class. Erda did expect Ilhan to pick something mysterious in the first place. The system then presented the task of becoming a Rookie Reaper to destroy 100 secondary class monsters in one shot and 1 tertiary class monster in one shot too. Ilhan couldn't believe how difficult the task was. He can now see the reason why people never go beyond level 50. However, it was not impossible for Ilhan. Erda wondered what Ilhan's next action would be. Ilhan then claimed that he would focus on evolving his rest skill and use a mana stone to reinforce his weapon with mana craft. Yuna was being waved around like a toy. Fida kept scolding Yuna, who kept swearing to eat bell peppers from now on. Haejin was behind all the time, chasing the scorpion. Ilhan can't believe the two were having a hard time with a weak monster. Ilhan doesn't want to get tangled with the couple, but it looked like he didn't have a choice but to help. Erda then noticed that Ilhan was holding the skewer he used to cook troll meat. Ilhan then threw the skewer while coolly shouting the Metal Heartsteel skewer's name. Erda couldn't believe Ilhan used such precious metal for a skewer. The scorpion got hit and threw off Yuna. Ilhan caught her and threw her toward Haejin. Ilhan pulled out his spear and confronted the scorpion. At point-blank range, Ilhan threw his spear of the scorpion's abdomen. It died with a critical hit, and Ilhan got its experience points and records. Ilhan was surprised that its level was higher than he expected. Erda explained that the scorpion got poisoned and it was a bad matchup for Ilhan, who got resistant. He then wondered if scorpion meat would taste like lobster. Meanwhile, Fida tried to wake up the couple who got knocked out. Yuna then woke up and discovered Ilhan's dark night. She then showed a social media post highlighting Ilhan's heroic acts back in Los Angeles. Rumors had already escalated, saying that Ilhan was an FBI agent. As Erda expected, the internet really ruined things. Ilhan wondered if something had happened to Erda. Ilhan then tried to ignore them, but Yuna noticed him turning back. The couple can't help but feel amazed watching Ilhan butcher the scorpion. Night comes and the food-deprived couple salivates over Ilhan's cooking. Ilhan can't believe that the two have it all, looks and skills. Erda can see now that Yuna was really blessed by the goddess of beauty. Back to the present, the trio had just finished their dinner. Yuna silently stared at Ilhan. Ilhan quickly refused to say what Yuna was going to say. Yuna can't believe someone turned down an invitation from the pretty girl. Ilhan now wondered if the two were really dating. Haejin thanked Ilhan for saving Yuna and gave out his contact information. Ilhan noticed how Haejin's business card looked like my raise. Yuna also presented her business card while telling him about their mission. Haejin quickly shut her up and dragged her away. Ilhan can feel that he will encounter them again. Erda told him to stop jinxing it. However, Ilhan would follow them on purpose since the monsters wouldn't attack him first. Yuna kept complaining about how she couldn't seduce Ilhan. She then suggested asking for Ilhan's help and giving away everything except the poison. Haejin told her to watch her mouth because Ilhan might also want the poison. Ilhan can't help but smirk because Hyjin is not also watching his mouth. Yuna wondered if they should really hide information about Heaven's quest from she trusted anyone like Myri and Hyjin who had saved her before. Ilhan then wondered why they were looking for a scorpion in a troll's dungeon. He then accused Erda of trolling him because he kept predicting the future. A scorpion suddenly sneaked behind the couple and Ilhan quickly destroyed it with his skewer. He told Erda to call it Mahar Skew, short for Metal Heart Skewer. Still, Ilhan can't believe the couple got into trouble before despite having a guardian angel. Erda then explained their powers are limited on Earth. They can't always interfere too much with a human's life and can only give clues and advice. The couple continued looking for the monster called Giant Deathstalker. Based on the name alone, Ilhan can imagine how strong the monster was. Erda was surprised to see something, and that very something loomed over the Hyjin and Yuna. The monster they were looking for had appeared. It was the Giant Deathstalker. Yuna can't help but be impressed by its size. Hyjin then asked for a buff. Yuna activated a buff with casual wordings, and Hyjin received the buff. Hyjin then charged forward. Ilhan noticed that they were paladins and healers and thought that they could manage on their own. However, Ilhan felt he needed to help fend off other monsters like the one sneaking behind Yuna. Yuna noticed a presence behind her and freaked out after seeing the Highland troll boss. She then ran toward Hyjin while asking for help. Just then, Ilhan appeared from behind with his pile bunker. He shot the stake and pierced the troll's chest. The monster's body fell to the ground, and Hyjin was shocked. Ilhan knew that the pile bunker was indeed powerful, with an attack power of 6,000, but it was only a one-time use. Erda scolded him for focusing on damage output instead of durability. Ilhan reminded Erda that he needed a huge damage output like that to one-shot murder a tertiary-level monster. Ilhan then noticed the battle on the side. He apologized and told them to continue what they were doing. Hyjin and the Deathstalker looked at each other and realized that they had been fighting in the first place. Seeing that Hyjin was in danger, Yuna pleaded for Ilhan's help. She offered all the Deathstalker's parts except for the poison. Like a real businessman, Ilhan agreed to it. Hyjin got mad at Yuna, but Yuna pointed out that they really needed Ilhan's help. Hyjin got distracted, and the Deathstalker captured him using its tail. Ilhan suddenly appeared behind him and slashed off the Deathstalker's tail. Ilhan raised his lei and dropped it on the Deathstalker's head. Hyjin was in awe, but Yuna reminded him to attack too. His sword suddenly glowed, and he learned a skill called Chasing Strike. Erda explained that Hyjin just used the skill was influenced by the prior attack's power. It means Hyjin used Ilhan's power. Even though it was a mana skill, Ilhan noticed how weak the skill was. Erda reminded Ilhan that he was on a different level. Ilhan then followed up with another attack and used his spear to strike the same spot that he had kicked before. The system shows that he got to murder the Deathstalker and gained experience points and records. The monster's body fell to the ground, and the battle ended. It didn't take long for Ilhan to butcher it and give away the Deathstalker's poison sac. Erda scolded Fida for suddenly bringing out the Deathstalker so Ilhan could help them. While thinking of eating the Deathstalker's meat, Ilhan noticed something glowing. He found a tertiary mana stone. Fida overheard him, but Erda wouldn't let her get away from her wrestling moves. Erda commended Ilhan for taking care of Fida. Hyjin then took this chance to invite Ilhan to their clan. Yuna claimed that Myri would be happy to join them. However, Ilhan coldly refused. The couple and Fida started complimenting his skills and mentioning the perks of being a guild. Ilhan still refused since he doesn't want to join popular people. He started chanting his own dark thoughts as a loner. Erda can see that Ilhan's PTSD is flaring again. Despite the couple and Fida praising his abilities and extolling the benefits of joining a guild, Ilhan persisted in his refusal, maintaining his preference for solitude. As a loner, he began to indulge in his own dark thoughts, and Erda observed that Ilhan's PTSD was resurfacing. Erda intervened, urging the others to stop pressuring Ilhan, but the couple held on to hope that he would reach out to them in the future, which Ilhan had no intention of doing. Once they left, Ilhan reverted to his stealthy ways and resumed his tasks, gathering the required resources, including the tertiary mana stone, 500 monster hearts, and 300 liters of troll blood. Ilhan met the conditions for evolving the rest skill. Initiating the skill's evolution, he acquired the Transcendent Regeneration skill, capable of aiding the recovery of both body and mind after sustaining damage from an attack. Erda congratulated him on attaining an expert-level skill, emphasizing its potential to revive Ilhan in the event of a heart or brain injury once trained to a higher rank. Ilhan contemplated when he could attain such a level of proficiency. Observing this remarkable skill, Ilhan deemed that his rigorous training had indeed paid off. Erda, with a smile, inquired if she had been helpful, and Ilhan affirmed her contribution. At present, Ilhan only needed to defeat 100 secondary class monsters to fulfill the requirements for his Rookie Reaper designation. Erda found it terrible too, but it was given to Ilhan because he was the only one meant to fulfill it. Watching the trolls, Ilhan noticed that they were moving differently than before. The known Risters are now neither resting nor sleeping. Ilhan thought that they might be moving to take revenge on their boss. Erda told him to do things quickly. For the next 2 days, Ilhan just went around hunting trolls. One night, Ilhan realized that the trolls' numbers were now dwindling and that it was hard to meet every hour. He can recall how the trolls acted, fearing death and being forced to run for their lives. Ilhan wondered if another monster was controlling them, but Erda assured him that there was none since Ilhan had already murdered the Highland troll boss. Ilhan then realized that it would be another monster. He finished his dinner and went back to hunt monsters. While walking around, Ilhan noticed something strange. Erda then tried to sense things with her power and found out that the exit had disappeared. Erda panicked since she couldn't contact the other angels outside. Ilhan asked her to calm down. Erda then assumed that they were in an abandoned world. Erda then explained things to Ilhan. God manages Mano worlds and helps them if needed. However, there are cases in which monsters got so overpowered that they wiped out the face of the world they lived in. In that case, the heavens give up on that world. Erda tried one more time, but she really couldn't contact anyone from outside. Ilhan then reminded her that they were in Earth's dungeon, not other worlds. Ilhan suddenly sensed something and grabbed Erda. An attack almost destroyed Erda. It was a scythe. An ominous voice came out from the scythe wielder, claiming that they had found a new record. Erda exclaimed that the monster was an unrecorded one that mutated after eating other monsters and evolving. Erda told Ilhan to be of its unknown patterns, and the monster attacked with its scythe. Ilhan dodged the attacks and realized that it was harder compared to the troll boss. However, Ilhan can feel that he can win. He wondered if it also had stealth skills, since it went for Erda earlier instead of him. Erda then reminded Ilhan that he would be rewarded if they made it out alive, and asked him not to die. Ilhan kept dodging the attacks while the monster only craved records, making Ilhan wonder about records. Ilhan only got his spear as a weapon and armor. The monster suddenly changed its attack pattern, and Erda exclaimed that it was a magic attack. Ilhan quickly leaped from the ground, escaping the red thorns that had just sprouted. Ilhan looked down at the monster and charged it with a spear attack. It was a critical attack, but Ilhan noticed that it didn't do much. It was because of their differences in levels. Erda claimed that it was strong. The monster realized that Ilhan was strong and asked for his records. The monster continued attacking with barrages and even scythe skills. Ilhan dodged and countered with his spear. The monster couldn't believe someone weak was strong and kept craving Ilhan's records. Irritated, Ilhan made another attack. However, the monster skillfully turned its whole body to counterattack. Ilhan got surprised, and the battlefield exploded. Ilhan surprisingly stood the monster can also use explosion skills, making his armor break. Ilhan just encountered how powerful Mana was. The monster brought out another scythe from nothing and threw it at Ilhan. The scythe turned into thorns, which Ilhan dodged. Ilhan attacked again while voicing his frustration that he would use Mana to someday. Surprisingly, the monster can also bring out thorns from its face. Erda was also targeted, but Ilhan blocked the attack with his shoulder. It was a first for Ilhan to feel that level of pain. Erda suddenly noticed that the wound was turning black. It was basically a curse since Ilhan's deadly poison resistance was not working at all. Erda thought of doing something and flew up into the sky. She claimed that she would just be a burden for Ilhan. Ilhan told her to take a walk or something. Thorns suddenly moved toward Erda, but Ilhan disrupted the monster's moves, dealing critical damage. However, Ilhan was starting to lose feeling in his right arm. Still, he doesn't feel any despair at all, and he puts on his wolf mask. He knew that foreshadowing still needed to come true. Is Yuna part of it? Meanwhile, Erda felt bad that her powers were restricted on Earth. She also knew something about the Reaper, but she was unsure. She forgot about it for now and continued looking for someone she knew who wouldn't leave the dungeon yet. She hoped Ilhan would endure God to protect him. In another area, Hejin and Yuna still can't leave the dungeon, and their escape scroll is not working at all. Just then, Fida and Yuna noticed something. Something crashed in front of them, and Fida noticed that it was Erda. Erda shouted at her and told her that it was time to repay the debt. Ilhan was still fighting the Reaper, who was still wondering why Ilhan wouldn't fall. It continued attacking while acting like a Y-man. Ilhan told her not to ask, but he still explained that he wouldn't die after surviving alone on Earth for 1,000 years. He gripped his spear tightly and slashed the Reaper while claiming that he would never die there. The Reaper shrieked in pain while Ilhan fell to the ground. Ilhan can't move anymore, and the Reaper can't help but laugh. Ilhan gritted his teeth as he didn't want to die. Images of a worried Erda, the playful Yuna, his sweet parents, and his beloved Lita flashed before his eyes. He can only say that he missed Rita. This is too sad. The Reaper attacked, and all Ilhan could imagine was Lita sweetly calling out his name. Ilhan couldn't believe he was going to die, and the Reaper exploded the area with its attack. However, Ilhan was gone and suddenly rolled over to the side. The Reaper then discovered Yuna healing Ilhan from the sides. Ilhan just smirked over the fact that his foreshadowing has now been fulfilled. Yuna continued chanting a unique healing spell, and Ilhan's wounds greatly recovered. The healing power was so strong that it also removed the curse on Ilhan's right shoulder. The Reaper attacked Ilhan again, but our hero quickly dodged it. The Reaper got confused, and a healed Ilhan asked it to stop looking at him like that. He was thankful that the couple arrived on time. Otherwise he would be dead for sure. Looking confused, Hejin wondered how a monster like the Reaper got into the dungeon. Yuna casually ordered him to attack and support Ilhan. The paladin took a stance and didn't have a choice but to charge forward per Yuna's orders. Of course, Yuna cast buffs on him using her holy powers. Hejin bashed his great shield on the Reaper, and the monster got surprisingly pushed back. Hejin can't believe that worked, but their guardian angel despaired over the level of the Reaper. Was impressed by how powerful the buff that Yuna cast was. Erda then flew toward Ilhan and checked on his condition. She suddenly asked for time, and Ilhan inquired of Hejin, how long can he endure on his own? Ilhan asked Hejin to buy some time for him. Hejin was worried, while Yuna was looking confused. Hejin confirmed that he could stall for at least 30 seconds with the help of Yuna's buffs. Ilhan then claimed that it was more than enough. Soon after, Hejin started screaming out loud while defending and receiving Yuna's buffs. Fida started worrying that Yuna might die in this situation. Plus, she doesn't care about Hejin's well-being at all. Erda told her not to worry and to put her trust in Ilhan. Fida can't help but worry since Hejin is being pushed back already. Erda then explained that Ilhan was currently hunting trolls in the area. She further claimed that Ilhan just needed to murder 3 more secondary class monsters to get his secondary title. As Erda explains, Ilhan just fulfilled the conditions for a title change. Ilhan finally became a rookie Reaper. His stealth effect increased by 10% and his ambush attacks increased by 30%. His attack power stat increased by 20%. His stealth skills evolution requirements were also eased. He leveled up to 53 after absorbing the records he had collected so far. Ilhan's stamina has recovered too. The wounds and curses from before are all gone. Ilhan also gained the passive skill Death Collector and started collecting the power of the lives he had destroyed. However, he didn't get any active skills since he doesn't have mana. Still, Ilhan continued running. Meanwhile, Hejin got wounded because his armor couldn't hold on anymore. He can't believe Ilhan managed to survive for such a long time against the Reaper. Seeing the Reaper going for an attack, Yuna raised a shield for Hejin. However, the attack was strong enough to break Hejin's great shield and knock him down. Fida screamed in despair as the Reaper loomed over Yuna and Hejin. Yuna quickly used her holy powers to push back the Reaper, and the monster exploded. Erda can't believe a mere human like Yuna successfully damaged a Reaper. However, the Reaper was only down for a while. Yuna kept telling Hejin to get up. Instead, the Reaper was the one starting to get up, wanting to murder them. The two knew that they would die at that moment. Just then, a familiar voice asked them to form a party. A window panel appeared showing a party of 3 had been formed. It showed Hejin's and Yuna's names, but the third name was all question marks. Someone stepped in, and Hejin was glad that he was back. Of course, Ilhan was stealth and pushed the two to be quiet. The Reaper was starting to wake up, and Hejin was getting worried. Ilhan commended them for doing a great job holding out. Hejin got stunned and thought to himself that he was saved, seeing Ilhan's dependable back. Yuna noticed that Hejin was already relaxed. He just realized that he was still weak after all this time. He was both upset and relieved at the same time. The Reaper finally woke up, looking for human records. Ilhan took this chance to sneak behind the enraged Reaper. Ilhan grabbed his spear tightly as he activated superhuman strength. Look at that bicep glow. At that moment, the Reaper noticed the strange power. However, Ilhan had already stabbed the Reaper with his spear. A critical hit landed, and the area exploded. Ilhan thought it was over, but he was surprised by what he discovered. The Reaper had turned into a woman with long white hair and green eyes. Tears fell from her eyes while she smiled. He thanked Ilhan, and her body started flaring. The woman's ominous energy totally dispersed to nothing, and Ilhan stood in silence as he gained a whopping 32 million experience points and increased in levels and stats. He wondered if he got tens of millions of EXP from freeing the woman from her curse. He looked at the woman's face as he got her records. Her name was Leda Karjaha, and Ilhan's skill, Death Collector, absorbed her life force. Yuna and Hyjin ran toward Ilhan as they leveled up. Hyjin stopped running after finding out that the Reaper had been a human all along. While the two were surprised by the woman, Ilhan started rummaging through the contents of his crossbag. Hyjin then noticed Ilhan bring out a pair of cleavers for butchering. Erda immediately stopped Ilhan, who really planned to butcher her since she looked like a monster in his eyes. He doesn't care if the woman has sturdy leather, hard bones, and mana stones for crafting. Erda and Ilhan then dropped their jaws as the woman's body started turning into dust. Ilhan was deeply shocked and depressed, falling to his knees. Erda can't believe that it was a breaker. Ilhan embarrassingly inquired as to what a breaker was. Erda explained that they were those who ate mana stones and got consumed by the monster's mana. They turn to ashes when they die. Ilhan just realized that the Reaper was not a monster at all. Erda claimed that it might be an intelligent being like an elf. Ilhan looked back, feeling sad that he didn't get to butcher anything. However, he did obtain a huge mana stone. Not just that, the Reaper's scythe and armor were also left behind. Fida came flying in, informing the others that the exit had just opened. Erda noticed too that their powers were back. She assumed that the Reaper, Leda Karjaha, did something. It was a shame that she didn't get any information from her. Ilhan wondered why Erda was looking at him. Ilhan got mad for being at fault, but Erda only mentioned how cute Ilhan was. Ilhan calmed down after hearing that. The Reaper was defeated, but Erda knew that the problem was not yet solved. It was the appearance of a mysterious advanced dungeon that suppresses even the power of higher beings, a tertiary class breaker that shouldn't have appeared on Earth yet, and an abandoned world. She doesn't know what's happening on Earth, but she always knew that Ilhan would always win. As always, Ilhan did things amazingly. Later, Hyjin thanked Ilhan for everything. Ilhan returned the thanks since it was they who saved him from death. Hyjin made it clear that they wouldn't ever get out on their own without Ilhan. Ilhan gave up and asked if they wouldn't mind him taking the spoils. Hyjin was tempted to refuse, but he just let out a sigh and gave up in the end. In exchange for that, though, Yuna asked for Ilhan's number. Our 1,000-year-old virgin coldly refused. Yuna can't believe Ilhan rejected a pretty girl again. Ilhan can see that Yuna was indeed blessed by beauty, but he hated extroverts. Yuna then asked for his name and gave him a bright, curious look. Ilhan was pressured to say his name, and Yuna found it cool. Hyjin doesn't know what he was watching anymore. This was the first time she saw Yuna be so bold with a man and get genuinely rejected despite her beauty. He sighed as he realized that Yuna and Ilhan are entities that someone normal like him can understand. The three soon came out of the huge portal, and a woman's voice called out Erda. An angel clad in armor appeared before them. She then asked for a brief report. Hyjin can't believe an angel appeared. Erda then approached her and started giving out the details. Ilhan wondered if the angel was Erda's superior since her presence instantly took over the armored angel, then called out Ilhan. She thanked Ilhan for saving Erda and promised to give out rewards later after some discussions. Ilhan was fine with her terms since he didn't even expect rewards in the first place. It was a serious incident, so she will bring Erda along with her. The armored angel turned around and announced that he would temporarily seal the dungeon. Other angels started using their divine powers on the dungeon portal. Ilhan wondered if more of these dungeons would appear in the future. However, the idea of someone creating the dungeon on purpose was also speculation. Recalling the thankful expression of Leda Karjaha, Ilhan can't help but be curious about it. He just wanted to get stronger to survive in the first place. The dungeon portal finally got sealed, and the armored angel claimed that Earth was one of those with unpredictable factors. She then shared with Ilhan that there would be more angels dispatched. She smiled and claimed that Leda missed Ilhan a lot, making her boy flinch. Ilhan was happy to know that. Ilhan then wondered if Leda had relayed a message. However, the angel started flapping her wings and bid Ilhan farewell. Ilhan wanted to hear more. Yuna and Hyjin finally returned to South Korea. They discovered a black car and the window rolled down. Mayuri welcomed the two back and asked if they had what she needed. Yuna was happy to see her, but the brother was impressed that she really waited for them. Hyjin told her not to worry since they had it. Yuna then started sharing stories about how Hyjin got beaten up. While traveling, Mayuri learned that the two met a Korean who used a spear. Yuna called Ilhan strong while comparing him to Hyjin. Mayuri can only think of one person with that description. Seeing her sister smile, Hyjin wondered if she knew him. Mayuri says no despite smiling and looking outside the window. She then thanked the two for getting her what she needed for her secondary title change. Meanwhile, Ilhan got back home but found out that no one was inside. He then noticed a note on the table. His mother went to another world to get some fresh seafood. Ilhan was impressed to learn that his mother was just casually doing groceries in another world. While taking a bath, Ilhan wondered if his mother was stronger than he thought. Compared to his time and father, his mother might be more talented. Ilhan then decided to go to his workshop before dinner. Soon after, Ilhan poured out the contents of his cross bag. However, the meat was a lot, and it would go bad soon. While butchering, he wondered if he could ask for an expiration-proof function for his cross-body bag. Just then, Ilhan felt something behind him and discovered the eternal flame. He found out that it wanted to eat meat, and Ilhan used this as a chance. Minutes later, he maniacally laughed as he cooked the meat. He was training his cooking skills while using up unnecessary meat. He lovingly fed his beloved smithing companion. Meanwhile, in the heavens, the angels conducted a meeting. An angel preceded the meeting and shared that Leda Karjaha was an elf from Dario. Everybody started chattering about how it was too bad to lose someone talented, and they wondered how she was able to appear on Earth. The meeting leader then ordered them to be silent and gave away two main questions. How was it possible for an abandoned world to connected with a dungeon on Earth? Also, why did it appear in a dungeon that overlapped traps of destruction? The angel then claimed that it was all thanks to Ilhan that Erda and Fida didn't die, and that he stopped the two worlds from combining. A male angel then laughed and couldn't believe that a human had managed to solve the issue. Fida intervened and mentioned that her Yuna also helped. However, the man ignored Fida and just asked how Ilhan managed to do it. He continued throwing out suspicious remarks while a certain female angel was starting to get irritated. The female didn't take it anymore and shouted out loud. She told the male angel to stop bad-mouthing Ilhan because she knew best how her son was a super hard worker. She exclaimed that her Ilhan was a good kid. Of course, everyone fell into silence. The meeting leader then asked for any suspicions from the angels present in the incident. Erda stood up and explained that despite having excellent skills, there was no hint of evil intentions from Ilhan. However, the male angel from before was still skeptical. The meeting leader then concluded that they should increase the number of angels on Earth fourfold for investigations. God also agreed to grant rewards to those who have shown excellent progress in restoring the balance on Earth. Like Erda and Fida, more guardian angels are to be dispatched to watch over Earth for any similar incidents. As higher beings, the angels had conflicted thoughts and feelings about associating with lower beings. However, they felt responsible for any incidents related to the recently abandoned world. The meeting leader Mira called Leda and Erda and asked them to stay behind, making Leda confused. Mira thanked them for listening and asked for their thoughts about getting Ilhan rewards since they all knew him well. Leda suddenly got excited and suggested something that would make Ilhan happy, but Erda told her to give Ilhan something useful. However, Mira fully understood Leda's thoughts and swore to do something about them. Leda celebrated, while Erda was surprised that a stoic angel like Mira agreed to it. She can't believe that Mira made an exception. Mira then claimed that he was just carrying out God's will for the sake of bringing back the balance on Earth. Mira can also feel that Ilhan might be closer to the issue's core compared to 7 billion returners on Earth. Meanwhile, Ilhan smiled widely as he finished creating a sword. He just realized that it was already 1 o'clock in the morning and he totally missed his mother's cooking. Despite being late, Ilhan was still busy in his workshop, which suddenly glowed. He let out a satisfied sigh. His pile bunker with a metal heart was finally done. As usual, it was of unique grade, with damage ranging from 2,000 to 5,500. It also had the option to increase its piercing power and attack power by 40%. It was basically a brutal weapon for the sake of murdering huge monsters. However, Ilhan can see that he still needs to be careful with its durability. Ilhan also thought of making other long-range weapons since he doesn't have mana. He would die for sure fighting. He then realized something and decided to make an Atlau. An Atlau has a hook at its end that gives it more destructive power and range than other weapons. Plus, Ilhan got the spear art skills effects that work with Atlau. Ilhan got excited and started hammering. While doing so, Ilhan noticed Leda Karjaha's armor and weapon. Ilhan continued staring at them. Seeing that it had superb stealth options, Ilhan thought he might disappear for real if he equipped it. On the other hand, the scythe had increased critical hit possibilities, but it was still lacking for Ilhan. He then decided to melt it and turn it into a spear. As usual, he asked for the Eternal Flame's help, but it suddenly got flustered. The Eternal Flame can't melt the scythe. Ilhan can't believe that there are things that the Eternal Flame can't melt, and his statement pissed off the Eternal Flame. It suddenly got bigger and burned hotter. Ilhan started cheering for the Eternal Flame. Just then, Ilhan noticed a bloody mist passed by him and a black figure appeared behind him. He could sense that it was Lita Karjaha and grabbed a nearby spear. Ilhan challenged it to a fight, but the bloody mist suddenly went inside the tertiary class mana stone. Ilhan was confused as to what just happened. After the black mist disappeared, the size started to melt. Ilhan was left confused, but things worked out either way. Two people stepped into the workshop. Erda can't believe Ilhan was using the metal from Daria. Lita can see that Ilhan was too focused to notice them. She can't help but feel proud of her Ilhan. Soon after, the Thorn Spear of Annihilation was born with a legendary rank. It has an attack power of 37-70% critical hit damage. It was considered a masterpiece, but it was still missing something. While looking at the spear and wondering what to add, a familiar person came into Ilhan's line of sight. He rubbed his eyes too hard, assuming that he had worked too hard for him to be seeing things. He got flustered when Lita coughed and sweetly asked Ilhan if he missed her. It took a few seconds for Ilhan to see that she was real and suddenly blush. Lita couldn't help but cry in joy and jump into Ilhan's embrace. It was only 2 months for them, but it felt like 100 years for the busy Lita. Erda looked at them from the back while wearing a bitter expression. Ilhan suddenly welcomed Erda back and commended her for doing a good job. Erda smiled and her expression lightened up. The three then sat down, and Ilhan couldn't believe that he had doubled the burden now. Lita got mad, calling her a burden after not seeing each other. Erda then informed Ilhan about Heaven's decision to send more guardian angels for investigation. Ilhan can see that even Heaven didn't know about the issue. Erda also shared the possibility of the same incident occurring. Lita can't believe we're talking about work again. Ilhan wondered what happened to Erda for her to agree with his words. Erda calmly explained that Ilhan was officially his ally now, and he was her savior. Of course, our 1,000-year-old virgin only looked for rewards, totally ignoring Erda's expression a second ago. He then asked for his crossbag to have a rot prevention function. Erda's expression suddenly darkened, and Ilhan got scared of overstepping his lines. Erda then wondered if that was Ilhan's only request. Both Ilhan and Lita turned blank. Ilhan wondered if this was a prank, seeing Erda being so kind. Erda then agreed to it and added the requested function. Ilhan celebrated with his upgraded bag, but Erda insisted that he should deserve more. She then mentioned that it was not the end and told Lita that it was her turn next. Ilhan blushed as Lita presented herself. Lita lovingly stared at Ilhan like a maiden in love. Ilhan suddenly had a realization. While looking at Lita, he kept thinking of a reward that he couldn't mention even in his mind. Lita seductively asked if Ilhan was ready. With a flaring nose, Ilhan answered in a fluster. Lita excitedly told Ilhan to open his subclass window. Confused, Ilhan turned into a stone. Erda teasingly wondered what kind of reward Ilhan was thinking about. Ilhan then opened the subclass window and a lot of subclasses appeared. One title caught his attention. He wondered what his partner meant. Erda excitedly explained that despite being restricted on Earth, his partnered angels can give them a part of their power in case the Earth encounters another abandoned world. Lita summarized it by saying that they will be together forever. Ilhan gave them a weird look and claimed that he didn't really need it. His statement was a shock for the two angels. Lita flustered wondered why, and Ilhan told them that they were not helpful during the actual battle. Lita cried because she was not helpful to Ilhan. Meanwhile, Erda spouted apologies for being a burden to the Reaper. Ilhan couldn't hold it in anymore and started bursting out with laughter. He claimed he was just joking and just wanted to see how the two would react. Of course, the first wife got mad, but the second one started acting tsundere. Ilhan then tapped the subclass window and he finally became an angel's partner. In the meantime, he can form partnerships with two angels and his attack has increased by 30% against breakers and undead. He also got a passive skill, Angel's Blessing. Both his chances of receiving critical hits and his curse tolerance increased by 30%. Quest rewards were also increased by 30%. He can only improve his skill by meeting certain conditions, not by reaching certain levels. He can now borrow an angel's powers and they can increase the more time he spends with them and interacts with them. Of course, Lita and Erda were designated as Ilhan's partnered angels. It was basically like a party since Ilhan could see their status together. He was more impressed by the damage increase against breakers and undead. He then looked at the two angels with expectant eyes. He happily hugged them while apologizing for pranking them. Lita can't help but smile. Erda ascertains her usefulness. He then discovered the active skill, Angel's Support, and wondered if he could train it. Lita confirms that it can grow faster if Ilhan deepens the interaction with them. Look at this angel, ready to gobble up her meal. Ilhan felt something, but Lita turned off her hunger mode. Ilhan's instincts told him that something was going to eat him up. Erda got worried after seeing a different side of Lita. She then concluded the rewarding ceremony and hoped that they would continue working as usual. Though Lita wanted to do some playing first, Ilhan happily agreed. But he wanted to manacraft the thorn spear first, make a harpoon, and refine the troll's blood. Lita suddenly turned the situation into a drama, crying that Ilhan kept choosing work over her. Lita started calling Ilhan nicknames, but our boy was already focused on working. He then held up the thorn spear and used manacraft to bring out the skills of the Grim Reaper. Lita was surprised to see Ilhan use manacraft. Lita was happy that their Ilhan can manage super difficult manacrafting. The thorn spear suddenly started exuding a bloody aura, covering the whole workshop. The thorn spear suddenly turned into the Dark Grim Reaper's extinct dragon thorn spear. It now has 4,000 attack power and possesses the power of a Grim Reaper. It also increased ambush damage by 30%, stats by 30%, and critical chance and damage by 150%. Suddenly, Ilhan got confused to hear that the spear was born with resentment and was for the sake of revenge against the dragons. Ilhan wondered why dragons were mentioned in the options. While Ilhan was flustered, Lita inspected the spear. She claimed that Ilhan dug too deep into its records. Lita Karjaha's world originally fell because of dragons. The option was added due to her dying wish to murder dragons. Ilhan can't believe he tapped too deep, but Erta claimed that it would mean that his manacraft was too successful. Lita assured him that with the weapon, it would be easy to fight the tertiary class dragons. Ilhan reminded them that they missed the point. Ilhan exclaimed that this is foreshadowing. As expected of the Prophet Ilhan, even Erta believed that they would fight dragons soon. Lita was left in confusion as she watched Ilhan and Erta panic over it. Feeling left out, Lita got mad and wondered why they were acting like that. Well, things happened because of Prophet Ilhan's foreshadowing.